Honorable Honorable Joint Secretary, distinguished panelist member, estimated audience, I am Mr. Joachim Murat. I work for Morpho, and I will discuss about what we think is the central role of the Fingerprint Bureau in criminal justice. Alors, I will be very short on this because I know that this day has been already very long. And first of all, in a glance, that will be the only slide about my company, just for you to know why we are talking about fingerprint expert. It's because we work with fingerprint experts since 35 years. And we do that worldwide, because we have worked with the fingerprint expert of more than 280 police forces, including the FBI since 35 years, the Interpol, and all those guys. And we know very well that in the center of the law enforcement capacity, you have the Fingerprint Bureau. Think of it as everybody speak about pilots when they think about airways. They never think of the air traffic controller. Without the air traffic controller, pilot cannot fly. So it's exactly the same when you are in law enforcement. Without the fingerprint expert, no real law enforcement so far. So we have some references, but I don't want to emphasize this too much. This is not my purpose. What is the role of the Fingerprint Bureau? Mr. Naidu, gentlemen from the NCRB, I am very sorry. This will not be of big surprises for you. This is a high-level general presentation on Fingerprint Bureau. You have fingerprint expert now with you in the audience. So if you want to ask them, several are in the room. So mostly the fingerprints compare fingers and palm from crime scene, collected from crime scene, to the existing database of the fingerprints that has been collected during arrest or during other crime scene. So meaning that they are performing the core mission of a law enforcement, which is the criminal identification. So this is the core of it. And they archive the material for investigation, they compare fingerprints, and they retrieve fingerprints on palm. And after that, they have the immense responsibility to check in front of the court, to explain in a tribunal why they think these fingerprints belongs to this criminal and this guy is guilty. And it is based on their expertise. So imagine the responsibility. At the origin of the fingerprint technology, it started with the French, but you will see it has nothing to see with the fact that Morpho is a French company, because this guy didn't believe in fingerprint at all. It was Mr. Bertillon. He thought that the shape of the skull could explain a lot of things. That's why we say that you have the boss of mathematics is coming from this guy. But nevertheless, you have Mr. Francis Galton, who then established the fact that the fingerprints are unique, and it could be very helpful to identify criminals. But the reality of this is that it all starts in India. The first forensic bureau to use fingerprints to identify criminals was in Calcutta. And it's Mr. Bose and Mr. Acquet, this is the photo of Mr. Acquet, who invented what becomes afterwards the Henry system of classification. The Henry system of classification is today the classification system used everywhere in the world to identify criminals. It has been invented by Mr. Acquet and Mr. Bose in Calcutta in 1897. The first case of solving a murder based on fingerprint was in 1905 in UK. At this time, it was not computerized, of course. And it was Miss and Mr. Thomas and Anne Farrow. They were shopkeepers in South London, and they have been treatedly murderous. And the police decided to take the fingerprint. And they realized that one fingerprint on the crime scene did not match with the fingerprint of the victim. So they said, probably it belongs to the murderer. So they caught guys running away. They compared the fingerprints. It's a hit. So the guy had been caught like this. But to be absolutely clear, the first time biometrics has been used in forensic, it was based on face recognition. It was during the attempt against Napoleon in 1799, the attentat de la rue Saint-Nicaise, where they get the head of a horse. They do sketches of the head of a horse. It was a bomb who exploded, and they go shop to shop with this head of this horse, and someone recognized, I know this horse. It belongs to this guy. But this was face recognition, not fingerprint recognition. So be careful with horses. The Farrow case was the first time that fingerprint has been used to solve a crime. So once more, today, when we speak of fingerprint expert and fingerprint bureau, what they are doing is in the core of the Counter-Terrorism and Counter-Criminal Act. This is not coming from me. This is coming from Mr. Steve Nixon, director of the National Intelligence of USA, okay, who said that, of course, biometric is a key element of identifying terrorists and criminal. I will just drop some names out of nowhere. China, Pakistan, Afghanistan. We are in a very quiet place, aren't we? So what is the responsibility of Fingerprint Bureau? When we are surrounded by China, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and some others which have now stabilized more or less, but Sri Lanka, nevertheless, still have some problem. Bangladesh, Nepal, you can find some issues also. So everywhere, danger. So without proper identification and monitoring of the population, how do you do to securize India? And anywhere else in the world, but India being really in a crisis center in this planet. The new age of biometrics is, of course, the automated fingerprint identification. We started in 1974 with the FBI. So it has been installed by Morpho at this time, by the way. We are very proud of it. So, of course, what is it doing is that it just unfast the work of the fingerprint expert. Because instead of comparing manually some sketches and some fingerprint done with ink, you just store them, you extract minutiae from the fingerprint, and you compare them with the software processing capacity. Plus, you add some tools to enhance and to ease the work of the fingerprint expert. Typically, you can of a criminal case experience. Let's say you have an arrest on the spot. So, of course, you take the fingerprints of the guy, the face and all. So it can be decided that he is released after his time in prison, or because no evidence so far, but nevertheless a crime occurs and the forensic team goes on the crime scene and take the latent, the chance prints, the traces. So these are processed by the fingerprint expert. So now, thanks to computers, they have tools, graphic tools like you can, if you are not familiar with that, imagine that you have Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, but for fingerprint, and then you enhance this image. Once you have enhanced this image, you feed the matchers, and the matchers will give you a wanted list of candidates that the matcher will say, okay, this looks like this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. The matcher never decides. It's always the fingerprint expert. So then you can download the watch list to a mobile terminal. You can do a remote control. Then you can identify easily the guy, and of course it leads to an arrest if it's a hit. When does the fingerprint expert appear? It's in the prints processing, of course, because despite the progress made by hardware computers, the IFIS technology has not and will never replace the human skills. That is not even in the near future. Nobody is anticipating it. And I speak as the world leader in criminal IFIS, so we know it will never replace fingerprint expert. The fingerprint expert is critical when he enhances the latent, the chance prints that has been gathered from the crime scene, and then is absolutely critical when he can decide who is amongst the candidate list that is proposed by the system, who is really the criminal. What happens is that you have the fingerprint expert, he just works on his fingerprint, he says, okay, now I have my matches, I think it's good. Let the system offer what is in the database. So imagine in a database such as the FBI, you have 10 crore criminals in the database. So you can't do that manually. So then the system will pop out with a candidate list and say, okay, this one looks like the fingerprint you are looking for. And you have a number of, this one is, let's say, 99% as the fingerprint you gave. This one is 98, 97, and etc., etc. And then the fingerprint expert said, no, it's this guy. After that, what happens is that the system will help him to find the guy, as I told you, and then he will be called in front of the court to present its result and explain why he found the hit or no hit. Imagine the responsibility. This is the fingerprint expert who will have to advocate and to explain, it's this guy. And the AFIS will support him in a way because we will issue the chart court, which will ease the demonstration in front of the judges. AFIS are of the essence of a good criminal justice system. That is certainly a few examples. The Malaysian police is equipped since a few years. The crime solved increased by 170%. Those are figures given by the Malaysian police. Very easy to check. The successful searches per month doubled up to 84 successful searches per month. They are using palm print. Palm print is extremely useful in law enforcement. It's usually not implemented in each and every AFIS. Particularly, I think that in India you have just, I don't think that there is so many existing AFIS using palms. And it enhances the efficiency to enable the solving of 33 crimes in under 10 minutes. So you imagine the rate of solving crime in the Malaysian police. So in the Malaysian police, indeed, it created a problem that now they are solving so many crimes that they don't have enough fingerprint experts to go in front of the court to explain why it's the guy. So they had to hire additional people just to explain in front of the court. The police department of Houston and the FBI had this very funny case that in 1969 a young mom was killed and just a latent chest print was found on the crime scene. At this time it was not computerized, it was based on paper. No one was ever arrested. So the IFIS, which is the today's FBI IFIS system, searched these prints and they identify a 58 years old ex-convict. The fact is, he confessed. So you can, in 1969, this guy stupidly didn't wear gloves. Bad luck. The palm prints also are of the essence. For example, in the City West County, they identified sex assault, a rapist, thanks to just a piece of the palm left in the bag of the victim. That's the only part they had. This was the piece of the palm. And the sheriff itself acknowledged that without this technology, the rapist, the predator, will be still in the street as we speak. One French, of course, I have to explain. That is a remote control in a suburb in France. Someone just said, "Who do you think you are? You bloody policeman! Or how do you dare talking to me?" and etc. Okay, my friend, you come. We go to police station. And by the way, since we have 2 minutes, we will check your fingerprints. And you give me your name and all. And he gave 2 fake names, of course, and the fingerprints matches with the guy who killed a pizzeria manager 4 months back. So he must have been stayed quiet and during this control police. But anyway, the one which I like the most is this one. In 1966 in Texas, Mr. Gerald Jackson was murdered. A young man is arrested for criminal possession of a weapon, 1966. We take his fingerprint, that's all, okay? And in 1979, Mr. Gerald Jackson is murdered. He was stabbed a lot, so he bled a lot. So the murderer flew away with the car and steal the car radio, and he left a part of his palm again on the dried blood. So anyway, they performed a manual comparison with the existing database, and the guy was already in the database because he was arrested before. It was arrested in 66. All was registered. His palm was registered, etc., etc. We get the chance, and the chance, nothing at all. 37 years later, the local police searched this case through their automated AFIS locally. Then they check only their local database. So it was not in the local database. So they go and they... okay, sorry. I'm very fast. So anyway, they gave it to the FBI. They have a central database. The guy was Mr. Gerard McLaugh. And he admitted. So 40 years later, he died. So this is an example of when you go for a bad and a good AFIS. I cannot disclose the name of the good and the bad AFIS, but anyway, you multiply by 3 the solving case with how to make sure to have an efficient AFIS. It's a mature technology. I want just to say that Mr. Purushottam Sharma clearly said that is absolutely of the essence to go with the NIST certificate. We cannot more emphasize this because, as Frost and Sullivan said in a report, some of the vendors make false claims in order to sell the product. So if you have a bad product but you have a good fingerprint expert, you are wasting the precious time of a fingerprint expert. This should not happen. So, of course, interoperability is of the essence, and you know Interpol exists. But in the case of India, you will have NCRB, for example, will have to interact with Interpol. But within state, you will have also to interact with the local state police, so interoperability is of course of the essence. As a conclusion, I will say that the biometrics is of the essence on the entire end-to-end law enforcement ecosystem. On the crime scene, when you collect the data, and the forensic team is absolutely important, and the AFIS with the expert, of course. Then on the courthouse, because you identify also witnesses, it's important. Sometimes you have professional witnesses in some countries, so you have to make sure that the guy is a real witness of the real case, and in jail because it's support a lot the convict inmate management. And the NIC is closely working on this with Mr. Rajiv Saxena, who is doing a particularly good job in jail management. So that was it. So my point being that the fingerprint experts are of the essence. The fingerprint bureau is the core of the solution, and we have noticed in each and every police in the world that most of the times they are forgotten, and we do not forget them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, please?
Excuse me, sir. Are there any standards or, where different AFIS systems can talk to each other?
Absolutely. There is the MINEX, Minutia Exchange Standard, which is the NIST MINEX, and you have you must have an NIST format for the biometric data set, plus an EBTS, which is the Exchange Biometric format. If you have something which is NIST EBTS, if you ask to the vendor to produce templates, which means the line of code which represents your biometrics, which is compliant to the NIST EBTS format, you're good. It's interoperable. You should ask him also, have you participate to the NIST MINEX benchmark, which is Minutia Exchange. Then you can have his results, it's public, the results are public. And one thing to keep in mind regarding AFIS, that is garbage in, garbage out. So if you collect the data on a bad system, you will have bad data. So the interoperability will be a problem because the format is only the format which helps to transport the biometric data. The quality has nothing to see with the format. So if the quality is bad, so then go for FBI certified scanner only, go for an FBI flatbed scanner only, that kind of thing. And you have a wide range of vendors, and when I say that, I don't narrow it to Morpho only. You have like 10 fingerprint scanner vendor, FBI certified, maybe more, so it's